Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
We are continuing our series on inspiring verses of the Quran, and this time we are looking at chapter 49, verse 13. It's a very popular verse that is discussed over and over, Dr. Shabir, and it goes like this. We created you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another. Surely the most noble among you are those who are most mindful of God. God is all-knowing and all-informed.
Yeah, it's a beautiful verse. It's very inspiring, Safiyyah, and you're right. It's been cited again and again. When Muslims meet with people of other faiths and they want to express solidarity and unification, mutual respect and love and harmony, they cite this verse. So why? Because it really clarifies that human beings are not better one over another except with the mindfulness of God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the mindfulness of God is the one distinction that makes one person better than the other, in the sight of God, that is. But as human beings, we can't know who is more mindful of God than the other person. We can't even judge sometimes by the actions of the person, because you see a person doing an action, you might interpret that as being a sinful action. But you don't know what are the motivations. Some things are so clearly and blatantly wrong that you don't need to peer into the motivations of the person, right? But some things can be interpreted two different ways. And you need to be able to see into the heart of the person, into the mind of the person, to know what that person is really thinking, to really decide, is this a good deed or a bad deed? So you can't really judge people most of the time, but only God can. So this verse is telling us that the most honorable among people are the ones who are most mindful of God. So this is also a comment on societal classes. Some people may think they're in high society. Some people may think that they're the rulers and governors, so they have the most honor. But yeah, we're going to treat them with honor according to their, the dignity and the status that they go with. We want to make sure that we are civil and we honor people according to their degrees and statures and so on. But their statuses in life and in society. But at the same time, we should not look down on the person who is, of a lower class. And this is why we don't have a caste system in Islam. Like we don't have this, the upper class is the lower class. No, everybody should be respected. Rich, poor, it doesn't matter who they are. Because that poor person could be the one who is most beloved to God. It could be most honorable in the sight of God, according to this verse, because that person could be more mindful of God. It's almost a truism that the more material stuff we have gathered, the more worry we have about safeguarding the material things. A poor person who has nothing maybe, yes, be struggling to find the next meal, but once they've eaten that next meal, they're satisfied. And now they have nothing to worry about. They just have the full mind devoted to God. Whereas, one who has acquired and amassed a lot of material things, they're worried about all of these material things, either because something is going to be breaking down, something needs maintenance, even your printer driver might need to be updated, right? And you get constant reminders, right, to do this.
Seems like this is bothering you these
Well,
days.
yeah, you have to update this and your new application updates and all of this sort of thing. So you have so much more to worry about. If you have wealth, you have to care for it, you have to secure it, and you're worried about losing it. So having wealth and status in society, even the status, you might be afraid that somebody might try to take it over. If you're a ruler of a country, you're afraid that there's going to be a coup, and so on. But the person who has nothing may be more mindful of God. So we should not look down on the person who is of a supposedly low status in our society. I'm not saying let's aim to have a low status. I'm not saying let's aim to be poor and let's get rid of all our material possessions. But I'm just looking at the irony of life here and connecting it with this verse that shows that the person that we might be looking down upon, that is the person who may be actually most honorable in the sight of God.
Also, Dr. Shabir, the beginning of the verse is particularly striking, and it's often used as an argument against racism, right? Because it starts, we created you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another, which suggests that, well, it doesn't suggest, it says that, it was purposeful that God created people differently, right? God intended for us to be created differently, so that it would be a sign of him and also something for us to learn more about.
Yeah, no wonder this is classified as one of the inspiring verses because it has so much going for it, and it can be used in such a wide variety of situations. Yes, when we want to stress racial equality, this is the verse because it shows that, as you said, God deliberately created human beings and made them into all of these nations and tribes. As the verse says, لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that you may know each other. And as one translator put it, so that you may not despise each other, right? Because to do this would mean like not the contrary. The contrary would be that you despise each other, but to know each other means that you are to recognize each other as fellow human beings. And, there is a certain benefit in having people being different. If you, think of human beings, suppose we were just all robots looking the same, like machine-generated, cookie-cutter type of products, then we'll all look the same, we'll all dress the same, speak the same language, and so on. Then not only would life be very boring, but we wouldn't be able to recognize each other. We wonder how the penguin mother recognizes her chick, right? But, and obviously they have some way, but that's because of some variation. Even among penguins, there must be something that, bonds mother and child. But if we all look the same, it'll be very difficult to tell one person from another. How might we meet an old friend in a mall and say, "Oh, yeah, I haven't seen you for years"? Would you go up to a person and say, "Hey, I haven't seen you for years," and the other person says, "Oh, do I know you?" So, because we might mistake, the identities of people, and sometimes we do, but mostly we don't. We recognize people, and that's because we're all so different. Every human being is unique. One of the things that contribute to our uniqueness is where the circumstances of our birth, the time and place, the race, the tribe and the nation in which we were born, and all of these, the languages that we speak, all of these are good benefits that God has given to human beings. So, and of course, any benefit can be misused and abused, and we should not do that. So we should not use class and race and other such features to discriminate against people, but we can recognize people.
Thank you for that, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
There are people out there who don't interact with Muslims at all in their day-to-day lives. They learn everything they know about Muslims from TV or social media. Our Muslim Media Hub will reach these people and transform their lives. Support us at QuranSpeaks.com.